Choosing the best gastrointestinal food for your dog can be an absolute minefield. But in this video, we are going to solve that very problem. And so I want you to watch the whole video from start to finish, take notes and rewind if you must, because I am potentially going to save you a lot of money. The first thing we need to talk about is the problem, which is what is going on with your dog's gastrointestinal system. There is something or several things you are giving your dog that are causing these gastrointestinal issues. What could it be? What could be causing the inflammation in your dog's gut? The first thing I would like you to do is to gather everything you give your dog together and assess, write down every single ingredient. Any food you give your dog, any treats you give your dog, any tidbits you give your dog, everything needs to be assessed and written down moving forward. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to identify any potential inflammatory ingredients in the food. You see, the problem you are having is inflammation. There is something or several things you are giving your dog that are causing their digestive system to become inflamed and to have a bit of a bad reaction. So the first thing we need to do is identify all these potentially pernicious or inflammatory ingredients. So what is an inflammatory ingredient? Anything that's highly refined will be an inflammatory ingredient. So if you see any of these ingredients in your dog's food, the best thing you need to do is to ditch them all. To the inflammatory ingredients, any wheat gluten that your food contains, any barley, any rice, any wheat, any soy, any potato protein potentially could be quite inflammatory. Anything that's refined, that's not biologically appropriate for a dog, will be detrimental to your dog's health. If you feed your dog rice, for example, rice is a high glycemic carbohydrate, it spikes insulin levels, and it's not very good for our dogs. It's one of those ingredients that causes inflammation. It is the same with wheat, for example. If you eat pasta, for example, even though it's delicious, sometimes it can have a bit of a detrimental impact in your gut. It would be the same for your dog. Anything with corn or with wheat, with barley, isn't very good for them, and it could be the actual cause for your dog's gastrointestinal issues. Now that we have parked any potential inflammatory ingredients, we are going to go into the sources of protein your dog is getting. So if your dog is getting anything vague, like natural flavor, anything like meat and animal derivatives or animal fats, your guess is as good as mine as to what is going into the food. You see, what we want to do is precisely pinpoint what is causing our dog's gut to cause a reaction, to have a reaction. And if we give our dogs meat and animal derivatives or anything vague like that, it is very likely that we are not going to know what's causing the inflammation. So we have done two things: potentially identify any inflammatory ingredients and potentially cut out any vague ingredients such as meat and animal derivatives or animal fats, for example. So what is next? How do I go on about sourcing the best gastrointestinal food for our dogs? Well, let me give you some pointers here. We have to address digestibility, the issue of digestibility. If your dog is allergic to any of these meats, it won't work for your dog. But the first thing I want you to do is dissect and analyze what meat is highly digestible and what meats aren't highly digestible. Let me give you an example. If you order chicken or salmon or sea bass at a restaurant, you are going to have a much easier time digesting those proteins than if you eat something like venison or eat something like lamb. They tend to be richer meats and they tend to be a lot more nutrient dense, and it's harder for us to break them down. It is exactly the same in our dogs. I would go for either chicken, turkey, sea bass, or anything fish as a protein source. And what about carbohydrates? If you are choosing a kibble, and the kibble, let's say, is salmon based, and you are happy with your choice of meat, which is salmon, we have identified that salmon is going to be the only meat source our dog is going to get. Salmon or anything fish will be packed full with omega-3s, which will reduce inflammation, and this is precisely what we are looking for. Okay, so let's say we have our meat source, and that's going to be salmon or sea bass or whatever. What do I want to see in the bag? Well, I want to see low glycemic carbohydrates, easily digestible carbohydrates. If you are choosing a brand of kibble, I would go for either sweet potato or maybe a tiny bit of oats. The main problem with commercial kibble, it's the amount of carbohydrates they contain. Even if the food is grain-free is no guarantee of anything better, quality. Why? Because manufacturers know this and have become very, very adept to substituting rice for pea protein or pea starch or tapioca starch, which again aren't very good for your dog's gut. So we have chosen our protein, and now we have chosen low glycemic carbohydrates. How do we go on about feeding these food to our dog? Well, if you are feeding a kibble, you should simply transition your dog over and see how the dog is doing. If the dog forms again an allergic reaction or a gastrointestinal reaction to the new food, you should give it a few weeks and then try to change it, because it might be the case that your dog's body is adapting to the better food, but in the long run it might be better for them. If you switch your dog to raw food or try a wet food, or even if it's the kibble, I would try one single protein and would not feed anything apart from one single protein. So if you have chosen chicken, or you have chosen turkey, or you have chosen sardines, for example, I would only feed my dog that sardines based diet, that sardines based food. I would choose one single protein, because we don't want to give our dogs too many things, otherwise we will not be able to pinpoint what's causing the gastrointestinal issue, you see. And I would monitor the situation very, very closely. Aside from that, I would add 2 natural supplements for your dog's gut. The first one is chia seeds, and chia seeds, if you put them in your dog's food or your dog's water, will form a bit of a mucus, and that is a very good source of fiber. The second natural supplement I would like you to provide your dog with would be natural yogurt. A dollop of natural yogurt every single day will be full of healthy bacteria, and that bacteria will actually feed the bacteria in your dog's stomach. Remember and think about gastrointestinal issues as the weak link being the gastrointestinal system. So how can we strengthen the gastrointestinal system? With probiotics, with a source of fiber like chia seeds, for example, and with better quality ingredients that are not going to exacerbate and inflame the gut anymore. As you can imagine, it is very hard to pinpoint, due to different countries and different places people live, what the actual best product might be for your dog. But I want to give you a word of caution. I would steer away from any veterinary prescription diet. Any veterinary prescription diet or any gastrointestinal diets will contain the very inflammatory ingredients I was describing in the beginning of the video. So if anyone recommends a veterinary prescription diet, you only have to look at the ingredients to see for yourself that that food might not be suitable for your dog. Anything that contains, again, meat and animal derivatives, corn, wheat, or even sugar, which is prescribed in prescription dog food and cat food, cannot be the answer to your dog's gastrointestinal issues. So try to look for ingredient quality, try to look for one single protein, and try to go the natural route. And I guarantee that your dog will get better. We see this all the time. Food is often the solution to a lot of the problems our dogs have. And so with you educating yourself about the best possible foods, how to look for bad and good ingredients, and how to sieve through the noise, that can actually empower you and make your dog better. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments and I will reply on the weekly Q&As we do. So please like and please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.